Welcome to Section 1, Introduction to Android. We're going to talk about the origins of Android, where it is today with its market share and reach, and where it's heading. So let's start by asking the question, what is Android? Android is a mobile operating system based on the Linux kernel. It was originally created in 2003 by Andy Rubin and his team. It is now owned and maintained by Google, and it has grown exponentially to become the leading mobile operating system in the world. It runs on everything from smartwatches to phones, tablets, televisions, and cars. It provides a rich application framework that allows you to build innovative apps and games for mobile devices in a Java language environment. This makes the development formula very simple. The Android Software Development Kit combined with Java expertise opens up the opportunity to develop apps for a huge and increasing market. The size of the Android market is massive. It has an installed base of over 1.6 billion smartphones and 200 million tablets for a total of almost 2 billion devices. As you can see from our chart, Android averages over 75% of the activations in the global mobile operating system market year over year. As a mobile operating system, Android is a juggernaut. It reaches everywhere and is growing. We wear Android on our wrist, we use it on our phone and tablet, we watch it on our TVs, and we use it in our cars. So, as a developer, you have the opportunity to develop apps that reach users on all these platforms, whether that is a watch, a phone, a TV, a tablet, or a car. And that trend will only continue in the future as more of our mobile devices become wearable. Another big trend beyond cars and watches is what is being called the Internet of Things, or IoT. This is where more of the world around us becomes connected to the internet through mobile operating systems like Android. Household devices like fridges, stoves, coffee makers, thermostats, lighting, heating, and almost any other household device that can be controlled via sensor is likely to join the mobile ecosystem in this aptly named Internet of Things. So as a developer, you have the opportunity to develop apps that reach users on all of these platforms, whether that is a watch, a phone, a tablet, a TV, cars, or even household appliances. To develop apps for Android, you can use a number of integrated development environments or IDEs. The most popular one until recently was Eclipse. If you're a die-hard developer from yesteryear that likes doing it old school, you can even use the command line for development. Today, however, the Android SDK comes with its own IDE called Android Studio. This is the development tool because it smoothly integrates all of the related tools that you need for developing Android apps. In order to develop apps properly, a developer should follow some basic steps. We have organized these into what we call the developer workflow. Whether or not you use Android Studio, the process and steps are the same. They encompass the four phases of development, which are setup, development, debugging and testing, and publishing. In the first phase, setup, you have to install and set up your development environment. We assume that you are using Android Studio as a development environment, so you need to install Android Studio and configure it. You will also need to create Android virtual devices, which is actually software that simulates a physical Android device. You can also test your app by connecting physical hardware devices like a phone or a tablet. Once Android Studio is set up, we will need to set up Android Studio Project. Then you will develop it by writing source code and sharing resource and Android manifest files. These are all elements that are required to build your app. Once we have created your app, you need to do three things. You need to build it, debug it, and test it. 1. In the building phase, you have to build or assemble your project into a debuggable .apk package that you can install and run in an emulator such as an Android Virtual Device, or AVD, or in an actual physical Android powered device. 2. Once it's built, you have to debug it. Android Studio has several tools for debugging. 3. Once debugged, you need to test the app using various Android SDK testing tools. Once the app is built, debugged, and tested, it is ready to be published to the world. To do this, you need to configure and build the app for release and then distribute it to users. Once released, or hopefully even before, you will want to market and advertise your app to ensure broad distribution, but that is a topic for another course. That concludes our introduction to Android.